tell us what happened and the things that you felt went well and how you were treated well, and any other observations that you
Well,
had?
I have two specific examples to draw upon, unfortunately. So is there either one you want to hear about, or?
I think we're quite happy to hear both, so
Both,
if you just
okay.
take us through them.
Well, in general terms, both were in the daytime and during the week, so I realised the pressure wasn't quite so bad as out of hours in the evening. So I'll go through it chronologically. The first one was a bank holiday Monday in April, May 2 years ago, and I'd been out getting some stuff, and I had fallen over a bollard, which was very low, and I didn't see it was a child present, and I was looking at the child, and it was a very rainy, it was maybe bank holiday. So I ended up falling with something in my arm, and I'm an experienced skier and mountain biker, and I've never hurt myself in my life, thank God. And lo and behold, I was lying on the ground, and I knew I wasn't getting up. I knew that something very serious had happened, and I was in extreme pain. So I was able to get the security guy on duty to get me a chair to sit down. It was raining quite heavily. And I said, look, I'm not going anywhere. I'm in agony. I cannot move. I'm really am very, very a lot of pain. So he got the ambulance service and sent a paramedic out, and I was taken sort of against my will into a waiting area because I realised it could be a head injury. I didn't know what it was. I sort of did lose consciousness briefly. And as I say, I really couldn't move. As it turned out, I had dislocated my shoulder, and it was extremely painful. So the paramedic arrived and gave me some gas to sort of dull the pain, and into the ambulance, and literally every rump I could feel the pain, and into the A&E straight away. And the experience was first class. I was seen very quickly, very promptly. They did the x-rays, they minimised any pain, gave me more gas to reduce the pain, and then brought into the trauma room to make sure nothing happened when it was relocated. And it was one of those white light moments where I looked into got the gas or whatever, and I sort of passed out and woke up with the doctor having my arm that had been dislocated up, and I heard it click back in place. And then I was told to wait because obviously with the trauma and the medication it could, have other injuries. So then I was discharged a few hours later and went home, and then took painkillers, and that was the first experience. So very prompt, very efficient, very, very fantastic care. So I was very thankful for that. And then just over a year ago, the second incident, a lot more serious. I had been away on vacation mountain biking abroad, and the last couple of days I really didn't feel up for the challenges and the hills, and I just felt terrible. So came home early, it was Easter, early April, sorry, and I had been feeling terrible. I'd been to see 6 doctors, my own GP 3 times, a work doctor once, and 2 specialists, and they all kept on saying, you've an upper respiratory viral infection, and saying, have you ever had asthma? No, I've never had any breathing problems, nothing ever been wrong with me. And I think other than having my chest sounded, that was the only investigation that was made. So eventually I really couldn't eat, and I live in a townhouse, and of course they're full of stairs, and there was stairs everywhere, and I remember in work having to take a lift up one flight of stairs and just feeling awful all the time with no energy. So eventually my own GP said, look, this could be a clots in your artery going into your lungs, and maybe that's the problem. So I came into the Royal again for the second time, about a year after the first time, and again it was Tuesday morning, mid-morning, so probably was a quieter time to go into A&D. And very quickly they ascertained that I was very sick. I had quite advanced pneumonia. And one simple little test of putting the oxygen meter on your finger, they were able to say, no, you're staying in, you're not going home. And that was a Tuesday. On the Saturday morning, I was rushed into intensive care, where I was the only person who was conscious in the whole ward, so we were getting pretty serious at this stage. And luckily I had a little bit of diving experience with a mask they had to put on for the forced air. I was able to cope with, because I think it was going to be intubated or knocked out basically at one stage. And then after that there was a long period of recovery in hospital because of the strong medication I was on. So again, that experience, very traumatic, but very positive, because the staff in emergency where I was admitted, very prompt, very efficient, did all the tests, quickly ascertained I had a very serious condition, and then was admitted. And thankfully, the good news is 3 weeks ago I was up sleeved honour doing a sponsored walk, and who did I meet at the top? The nurse who helped me. And of course I couldn't walk upstairs a year ago, and there I was out sleeved honoured thanks to the staff.
Okay, I think that's great. I only got one very quick question. I mean, it must have been quite worrying, particularly your second time when you really didn't know what the problem was.
Yes.
And you, the GP had suggested it might be a number of things that were serious enough to get to the emergency department. In terms of the communication, when clinicians realised what they thought it was, was that good? Were you told very clearly?
Oh
what the
yes,
issue
and
was?
I
You
remember,
weren't
yeah,
hanging,
on the
or-
Wednesday, the doctor said, look, this could get worse before it gets better. And he was sort of warning me. And as I say, on the Saturday morning, whenever I was rushed by the crash team into intensive care, with this rugby ball thing being pressed into my face because I couldn't breathe, you know, it was very serious at a time.
Okay. And the process of going from being in the emergency department to having to go into an admission, that was a seamless process then?
There was a couple of hours to wait, and I appreciated that on a trolley, but as I say, it wasn't anything like people have to experience sometimes, so I was very fortunate in that particular day.
Okay. And in terms of the staff and how they were with you, your experience was entirely positive?
They were fantastic, and this is why I decided to come today to thank the staff.
Okay. Thank you. Marion?
I'm just wondering, did you get any indication if you had been diagnosed earlier, would you have needed to
I
have
think
all the intensive level of care?
no. I think for a couple of simple tests that have been done, and the problem was, as the previous person had mentioned, I did look okay. I'd just been mountain biking in Morocco for a week, so you know, what am I doing in hospital? And I think, you know, had a few tests been done, maybe I could have avoided that. So I think that's an important lesson, that I feel maybe getting more tests done to ascertain what is the problem before it does advance to a pretty bad state.
Thanks very much. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Tony. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
helping us. Really appreciate it. And I noticed your recommendations, which number 17 in particular, paragraph 17, is really, really interesting. So thank you for that.